Detective Comics 936 by James Tynion IV and Alvaro Martinez. So art is shift on Detective as well, similar to Action. Makes sense, they're both shifting at the same times.
Yep.
So I'm guessing they're doing 2 issues and swapping around, or is there more than 2 artists? I'm not sure, but yeah.
Whatever they're gonna do to keep it on time, keep it up.
Yeah, art was still good though. Again, it was a shift that didn't, because obviously Eddie Barrows, who was doing the art for the last 2 issues, was really good.
Yeah. Yep.
But I didn't feel like a dip here. It felt like it was still
Hmm.
um, really good stand-up stuff, and I love this issue.
Yeah.
I'll get right
Full
to
of
it.
some full of some nice twists and turns.
Full of twists and turns, great character stuff for Kate Kane,
Mhm.
which is good. But the story in itself, and I know something that must have excited you, Matt, is the line "They beat Batman." That must have had you
And this
cheering.
is well, not exactly because I don't know who this threat is. Like if it's the I don't want to call them the League of Shadows, then it's different, or the League of Assassins, you know. But yeah, no, that's
Well,
good though. It shows that Batman's not invincible,
yeah,
you know.
it shows that he isn't completely impossible, like to take down. It's essentially an army. So what I would have loved though, just to give him a bit of a badass moment, is just like a line about how many he took down before they managed to subdue him.
Yeah,
You know, like how many of the soldiers did Batman knock the fuck out before
yeah,
he managed to like tackle him and take him down? But no, that was really cool, and I think that's really interesting from plot stuff. Like, I think it's such a cool plot for this team book. We are setting up this team of Bat family characters. Like,
hmm,
well, what is their big first test? What is the thing that brings them together and makes them a proper team? Someone took out Batman, and they have to save him.
yep,
They have to stop the
yep,
villains that took out Batman. That is like perfect.
yep. And it's a new villain. It's not that that's people. Well, are we gonna burn who it is
Yeah, we
right
can. Yeah,
now?
obviously the twist in the issue is that it's
Yeah,
Kate's father, Jacob Kane, who is
yep,
heading this army of bat-inspired soldiers.
yep. So he's corrupting the symbol of the bat, which is always a good trope
Yeah.
in Batman comics. And uh, I was gonna say it's someone that they're not familiar with, but Kate very much knows who her dad is.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because last issue, I mean, I really liked the last issue, but one of my slight complaints was there was a scene between her and her father, where he talked about how the Waynes were they're all not filth, but you know he was like talking about the Waynes and
Yeah.
how they'll always be this, they'll
Hmm.
never have the values that the Kanes do and all that. And I said at the
Right.
time, I'm not sure what the point of that scene was, other than just to
Well,
show their differences. And now I'm like, okay, right. In retrospect,
yeah.
fair play, right? Fair play. It set this up quite nicely.
Yep.
Uh, and obviously, we should briefly mention at least that Kate had a nice conversation with Montoya at the
Yeah.
start of
In
the
the beginning,
issue.
in Montoya, in great Montoya fashion, she's kind of like, I ain't got time for this. You know
Yeah,
what you want to do.
but that
So,
again, it's nice to have that history there. Which
yep.
this book's been
Well,
paying very nice like respect to the history of all these characters. So it's just another example of that.
yeah. And again, I say that as someone that knows the history between Kate and Renee. But even if you didn't, you kind of get their relationship right here. It's done in a page, and you
Yeah.
know when Renee leaves, you know what she's about.
Um,
So
so yeah, so going back to the scene where they're talking about how Batman get beat and like Kate and Tim are watching it. I really love this scene because they're sort of like they're almost like they do this thing where they're almost in silhouette as the screen's behind them, and
hmm,
like the lighting like lens flares and all that are going off as it, you know. And I like that because it's like they're engulfed by this impossible situation. It's like a
yep,
really nice artistic touch, and even from a character point, I love that Tim's like, well, this is what Batman would do. Like, and he's like, what should we do? And he's like, well, Batman wouldn't want us to do this. Batman would do it this way. He would, and all that. And
yeah,
then there's this great page where the panels go into the sort of the panels of the giant screen they're watching
yeah,
as they're having the conversation, and basically she ends with saying Batman wouldn't want to set off the alarm or do any of this or let anyone know that anything. He would want to keep it private and controlled. And Tim
right,
says, so what do you want to do? And she says, we need to make some calls. She does the
Yep.
exact opposite thing that
Opposite.
Batman would do.
Yep.
First of all, this is a really fun page as well. Actually, I love Stephanie waking up from the phone call and saying, "Spoiler needs sleep."
Yep. Spoiler needs sleep, and then even when she walks in, she's giving lip. She's
Yeah,
like, "I was just here 5 hours ago."
yeah, it's
So,
great stuff. And then we get a silent page for the silent character of Orphan, Cassandra
yep.
Cain. Doing our grappling throughout the city in the rain. Fantastic looking page. And she notices the planes, and she like, right, okay, something's up. She puts the mask on. She's gearing up to go. Everyone else gets to the belfry and are informed of the situation. And Kate brings in her father as a consultant. Oh dear, that was a bad idea.
Yep.
And he monologues and reveals what's going on. That he's got this army trained basically, and but throughout all this, again, this is like giving these characters the respect they deserve. We get a
Hmm.
badass scene on the roof of Cassandra Cain taking out some of these soldiers. The team that took down Batman, she's like ripping through and like giving them a new one. She's
Well, because when he asks, because there's like a roll call, and he goes, "Well, where's the mute girl that's a better fighter than Batman?" And that's how he knows her.
yeah,
So, and she does take a bunch of them out. Like she's not going down, and it takes them blasting her, which I
yeah,
got worried for a minute. Like, oh man, they're playing for keeps,
yeah.
and then it just starts. So,
And it's a beautiful page of her fighting them in the
yep,
rain, really gorgeous, mostly silent. But I love that she's not uttered a single word in all of this book. I mean, it's only been 3 issues, admittedly, but she's not uttered a single word. And then when one of them says surrender, she says one thing. She says,
yeah,
no.
no, yeah,
And then goes to work. That is so badass.
yep.
It's so badass.
Yep. This is a throwback again, to use that term, to the Batman comics I did like to read back at the mid part of the last decade. So, Batman's a flawed character, and his sidekicks and partners are trying to piece it together. And now it's the hunt for Batman.
Yeah. But I'm going to flip this on you and say that Batman is the greatest genius who ever lived because he put this team together because he knew a threat was getting serious.
Hmm.
So it's almost like this was self-preservation in a weird way. He put trust in the
Yeah.
people around him, which
Oh, and
is
that's a much different Batman than we got in Snyder's run, who didn't trust anybody, and that's what
yeah,
Death of the Family was all about, and then Endgame and whatnot. So
yeah. I agree. And you know, I mean, obviously we never really suspect that Kate's going to go with her father, but her father's convinced that she's going to come with them. As you said, Orphan gets taken out after being a complete badass. And then they pull a We Are Groot with Clayface, who forms a giant ball, and they open
yeah,
a trap door and they escape, and that's the end of the issue. My God, what a fantastic issue!
yeah,
I
it's
was in
pretty
love
good.
with this. It gave so many of the characters great moments, good character stuff for Kate and
Well,
Tim.
and Tim, like Kate's dad, showing Tim that he's not that great, like knocking him down a peg with
Yeah,
the computer
yeah,
stuff.
because he looks down on all of them. Like this is like
Yeah,
in a weird way, like all the way back to like Elegy when we first really like knew Kate's dad and his like
yep,
militant way of like running the operation. In a weird way, this has been perfectly set up the entire time that he will one day be
yep,
a villain. Like this
yep.
actually completely makes sense. Like
This
this,
is the best thing I've ever read out of Tynion. And granted, I haven't read that much from him, but like I've read his Red Hood and the Outlaws, and I read part of his Talon book. This is more befitting
yeah.
of his talents, I think.
I think
Other
I
stuff
think he said
was.
at the WonderCon event that this is the book that he's been wanting to write for years. Like this is something he's always
Oh,
had in his head, and it's like I feel it. I feel the love. I feel
like
the
as weird as
passion.
it sounds, because he's one of Snyder's guys, though, that feels very Johnsian in the way that he's setting up, because he's taking stuff from the past and shining a light on it, whether it's Cassandra Cain or spoiler. And
Hopefully, this is him coming into his own, and maybe a through experience, but maybe it was also because he's finally getting to play properly with a lot of things. Whereas
yeah,
before, he was getting given the odd annual of Batman. He would have been given maybe one of the writers on the weekly series. He was given Talon, but this is
yeah.
he got the keys to the kingdom here basically,
And
and
he proved he can handle it. So
yeah, I am. so fucking in love with this series right now. That this and Superman are like battling for just, and it's a great battle to watch because it's just them trying to outdo each other.
Yeah.
Like, I'd probably still say Superman's the best book of Rebirth so far, but had this come out the same week as last week's issue of Superman, I would be struggling to pick like what the favorite was.
Yeah. Luckily they weren't, so we didn't have to
Yeah,
watch your brain melt.
it's kind of nice, at least for me, that the two best books are alternating between weeks. That's
Huh?
actually a really nice little touch. So
Huh?
I guess with that, oh wait, hold on, Speed Force, I can feel it.
Yeah.
The Ginger is once again honing in from afar. Uh, I'll read this just word for word because he's written tech, more of the same techie goodness. Yeah, that's what it said. Techie goodness. Artist change didn't hinder it at all. It continues to be a fun team book. The villain reveal makes perfect sense for this book. I like that it gives a personal connection to the team, especially as the best part of the book is its personal relationships. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much what we were saying, with maybe a bit more emphasis on the personal villain, which is a good point. So.
Mm-hmm.